Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. After sinking a ton of time into Enshrouded, I've got another game that has totally hijacked my free time. Honestly, I think it's one of the most interesting sandbox games I've played all year. Today, we're diving into Necesse. My first moments in Necesse made one thing very clear. This game gives you a lot of freedom. Zero handholding, no story, there's nothing but your own curiosity. And you know what? I really like that. It gives off that classic Terraria vibe where your goals are completely self-driven. In Necesse, that drive comes from wanting to see bigger damage numbers, building a nicer looking base, or just watching your little colony of settlers get bigger. There's so much to do here. And Necesse is this crazy mix. It's like a 2D top-down Terraria, but then it throws in some colony management, which feels straight out of RimWorld. It sounds like a mess, but the combination is super fun. And today, I'll give you my first impressions on the progression, the combat, and the colony management. But to understand Necesse, you have to start with the main objective, the progression loop that keeps you hooked. So let's talk about that core gameplay loop. While the steps are simple, it feeds into the truly addictive part of Necesse, getting stronger, faster and more creative. But like I said, there's no big story. However, there's the Elder, whose quests act as a kind of gentle guide through progression. The loop itself is classic and straightforward. You start on the overworld, where you can build your base, and then you head into the caves, which is where you fight most of the bosses. And the rhythm is really simple. You dig down, you mine new minerals, you craft better gear, you fight a boss. Then you find the next tier of minerals, upgrade your stuff again, and fight the next boss. Even though you don't have to fight all the bosses, you really should. Because the Elder rewards you with absolutely critical quality of life items. Things like the lunch box to hold all your food, the potion pouch for your potions, and a coin bag to keep your inventory nice and clean. And that feeling of continuous growth, it's fantastic. You can feel your power spike with every upgrade. Enemies that once slowed you down? Well, now you're one-shotting them. Each improvement feels meaningful, and that sense of momentum is what keeps you hooked. To support all this crafting and growth, the world itself has to be huge. And yes, it really is, spanning 5 different biomes. The woodlands, the plains, an ice region, some swamps and deserts. Each one has its own cave system, and as you progress further in the game, you unlock a deep cave version of each one. That's 15 unique areas to mine and farm from. And what surprised me was realizing that the caves are just as seamless as the surface. You can literally mine your way from a woodland cave and pop out into an ice cave with 0 loading screens. The whole world is massive. It truly sells the idea that you have this huge layered world to exploit and build from. I want to point out one thing though. When it comes to exploration, you need to adjust your expectations. This isn't a game about finding hidden handcrafted and unique landmarks. If you're coming from a game like Subnautica or Grounded, you might find that sense of deep discovery missing. The world's purpose is to be a vast, procedurally generated toolset for progression, giving you these 15 distinct zones to mine and farm from. Alright, let's talk about the fighting. Early combat felt pretty easy, to be honest. Almost too easy. The first few bosses were no problem. It felt like the game was just gently letting you play around and try different things. You can go full melee, running in with swords and spears for fast close-up damage. You can go ranged with bows or guns to stay safe from afar, or you can go full magic. And then there's also summoning, where you have your own little army. It felt like for the first few hours you can mix and match however you like. But then comes the Pirate King. And that's the point where the training wheels come off. Suddenly, gear, timing and build choices actually matter. Before him, you could improvise. After him, you really need to specialize. Bosses hit harder, move faster, and simply tanking damage isn't an option anymore. But this is where Necesse's flexibility shines. You're never locked into one playstyle, because the game lets you save multiple full gear sets. So you can instantly swap between a summoner loadout, a tank set, or even a crafting focused setup. It makes adapting to bosses, raids, and even new biomes effortless. For me, the setup that really clicked was a hybrid melee summoner build. My minions dealt steady damage, while I focused on burst attacks up close. Occasionally I mixed in some magic for ranged control, and that blend felt both powerful and reactive. Necesse's combat is about adapting, experimenting, and constantly rethinking how you want to fight. So, when you need to take a breather from diving deep into dangerous caves and fighting bosses, what do? Well, you build a settlement. And this is where Necesse stops being Terraria and starts feeling a lot like RimWorld. You actually create a colony. And it starts simple. One of the first things you do is get and place a settlement flag. Once that flag is down, all the colony management features activate in that area. And you start with the basics, like a bed and storage chest. But then soon, people start wandering by. And you can ask them to join your settlement. And once they do, they're not just taking up space. They become productive members of your colony. But first, you have to take care of them. They need a bed, a house, enough food and even some decorations to keep them happy. And happiness matters. Happy settlers take less breaks in between their work assignments, for example. They take over all the repetitive things you might not want to do. Settlers can be farmers, taking care of crops and animals. They can be miners, digging up ores. Or they can be foresters, cutting down trees and replanting them. And here's a real selling feature, especially since my personal storage management skills are, well, questionable at best. Yes, they will even sort your storage, but only if you've set it up correctly. So it's not a passive thing at first. You have to set up the automation. For your settlers to start logging, for example, you have to define a forestry area. Then you have to configure your storage chests, and you need to tell them they can use the chest, and crucially, you need to tell them exactly which resources to put in that chest. And optimizing the system is actually a ton of fun. Making sure your food stores are always full, getting your resource supply streamlined, and watching your settlement grow is its own addictive game. You define your farmland, you set up your storage, and then you just lay back and let them do the rest. Well, just don't relax too much. Every so often, your colony is going to get raided. The difficulty of these raids goes up depending on how much gear you and your settlers have in your chests. But once again, your settlers will jump in and help you defend, leading to some cool moments right outside your front door. So trying to pin down Necesse is impossible. It's got the loot and adventure of Terraria, it can have the cozy farming feel of Stardew Valley, and even logistics of RimWorld. That blend is exactly what makes it so much fun. Getting a break from dungeon crawling just to jump back and tweak some automation in my colony? Well, it's no problem here. Oh, and did I mention the game actually has Steam Workshop support? There are tons of mods already available that let you customize your experience and play the game exactly the way you want. I'm loving my time with Necesse. So much that I'm already prepping a follow-up video. a dedicated tips and tricks guide for everything I've learned. But for now, if you want a game that truly lets you experiment and find your own way to play, you absolutely have to check out Necesse.